Hello everyone, I'm Alba Domingo Pérez and...
You gotta
No,
be kidding.
I'm Alba Domingo
I'm
Pérez.
Alba Domingo Pérez.
Well, I'm sorry guys, it seems like there's more than one Alba in the area. Guys, why don't we explain this together? Well, okay, I guess.
Okay, that works for me.
So, hello everyone, we are Alba Domingo Pérez and this is our final exam of our ICT. The video will be composed of two sections. The first section, where you will be able to find a teaching project that incorporates different types of technologies to enhance the learning experience of children.
And the second part, where I will explain and reflect on different topics that we worked on this year.
So after this small introduction, let's get on with it. So firstly, I will explain the teaching project that I developed. It is aimed for kids between 11 to 12 years, which are in the 6th grade of primary education. The subject that I choose to work with is natural science, as I believed that it would be fun to learn and interact with it from another perspective different from the normal classes where kids only read their textbooks. The first thing I did was searching for the 6th grade curriculum in Spain to obtain the curriculum goals for my project. When I got into it, I went to the natural science part on the 19th page of the document. As you can see in the video, I chose to work specifically with renewable energy sources, and I will work later on in detail on the machines that make it possible. Then you can see some of the accessible learning standards that relate to this topic, such as identifying and explaining some of the main characteristics of the different forms of energy, or identifying and explaining some of the main characteristics of the renewable and non-renewable energies, identifying the different sources of energy and raw materials and the origin from which they come. Characteristics of my students will be varied, from students with more advanced degrees of intelligence to children with some learning difficulties. Specific activities will be carried out and created to meet their specific needs.
Now, to create the 3 activities, I have been guided by the website Scamily, which has provided me with ideas to carry out 3 activities related to renewable energy sources and the machines that produce it, and in which we will add technologies such as stop motion, augmented reality, or comics. As you see in the video, Scamily allows us to search for all types of classes by adding a series of requirements to the search. I added the data to create these 3 activities and finally acquired 3 proposals for activities related to the topic, in which I would base myself as a first idea for carrying out the project.
And finally, we get to the explanation of the project. It is important to note that access to these technologies makes it much easier for us to work with children and get them interested in these topics, since game-based learning is always much more attractive to them than the masterclass and usually has better results. I got all of my ideas to do the task thanks to the ACAD framework toolkit. Some tasks that are part of this toolkit will be shown in the video. So now let's get on with it. The first activity to be carried out will be augmented reality. This will help us to introduce kids to various forms of renewable energy sources and to educate them about the importance of renewable energy for sustainable development. We will need a merge cube, which is an augmented reality tool that, as you can see, help us create 3D scenarios for a fun immersion of all kinds of topics. In this case, we will use it to see models of renewable energy installations. To use it, you simply have to access the web and download a PDF to create it with paper and use it in class. Here I have an example of mine. All of this would be done in a computer room with enough space to move around with the 3D elements and individually, preferably with a tablet to digest the simulations better and at your own rhythm. Firstly, you introduce the kids to the Merge Cube app with renewable energy content, where they will scan the cube and see different types of renewable installations. You let them explore the app, which will overlay AR representations of renewable energy installations. They will interact with the AR models, rotate them, and learn about how each installation works. And finally, ask them questions about what they are seeing and guide them to think critically about the benefits and challenges of each renewable energy source. To assess it, we will use a rubric like this where we would rate the level of knowledge and practice acquired thanks to the virtual reality, from understanding the topic to reflecting on it. And now I will evaluate this technology thanks to the rubric for e-learning tool evaluation. Privacy and security policies keep you safe at all times, having to go through several phases to verify your entry. Your data is safe at all times and is carefully stored, so it works really well. After having learned what renewable energies are thanks to augmented reality, they will move on to a new technology, stop motion. This second activity will consist of a group activity in which a stop motion animation will be made. The activity will be carried out in a classroom with a disposition predisposed to team collaboration and with the help of tablets that will make it easier for us to carry out the stop motion. They will be provided with materials such as markers, pencils, and sheets of paper to create their own story. Each group will be asked to brainstorm and storyboard a short stop-motion animation that illustrates one or more renewable energy sources. This will encourage them to think creatively and consider how they can use props and characters to tell a story about renewable energy. The teacher will instruct the kids on how to use the stop-motion animation app, which is called Stop Motion Studio. This app will help us create the video since it allows us to take photos that, when put together, give the sensation of movement like the cartoons that we see on TV. When they have finished editing their videos to their own liking, they will show them to the rest of the class. This activity promotes creativity in all its ways and collaboration and teamwork skills through group work and animation production. At the end of the activity, the groups will show their videos and will be evaluated by the rest of the groups in the class thanks to this rubric that will be passed to them.
And finally, the third activity will finish establishing renewable energies in children. During this activity, their task will be to create a comic in groups where they will present a story of free imagination about what they have learned about renewable energies. The activity will be carried out in a classroom with a specific distribution to be able to work in teams, and tablets will be used for the online creation of the comics. They will be advised to use the Canva website, which will allow them to create all types of scenarios with thousands of elements to give them lots of freedom when creating them. The kids will be introduced to Canva and guided through the different aspects of the app. They will also be assisted in order to create their comic panels, the characters, and the dialogue. At the end, the kids will review their own comments and grade them with this rubric. And now, when it comes to personally evaluating this tool, I have to say that it maintains the typical login, but I found some difficulties since it usually crashes. The data is saved well, but it is definitely a website that doesn't work that well.
Before finishing this first section of the video, I must mention that all of these activities can be adapted to children with educational difficulties through mentored children who help other children or children who give ideas to others who are less creative. All this without mentioning, of course, that the work would be proposed with other objectives and competencies adapted to the child.
And now it is the turn of the second section of the video.
In this second part, I will comment on 3 different sections related to the subject. The first section is about 5 elements of this course that I would implement on my PLE, personal learning environments. So first, what is PLE? As said by Adele and Castañeda in 2010, It is the set of tools, sources of information, connections, and activities that each person regularly uses to learn. So knowing the definition of it, I am going to show you a diagram that I have created to show you the 5 main elements that have made a mark on me this year and that I will surely use in the future. As you can see, the diagram consists of 3 sections in which I have classified the tools depending on the use I give them. So first, we can see that in the circle above is the section with elements that I use reflecting while doing. Here we see Miro, a website that has really helped me a lot when creating diagrams and that I would like to use in the future to create thousands of diagrams to make my work more visual. Then between that section and the next I used Kahoot, since I think it has been very effective in creating competitive games that take advantage of all our knowledge. Therefore, I will use it for future classes at school.
Then there is the sharing section personal learning network, where I have added Instagram. I use this app for a more personal purpose, but I have realized that it can be used to upload and search for content related to education, and I currently use it a lot for that. And the last section is reading accessing the information, where I have added 2 web pages. The first is Pixabay, an app that I have used a lot to avoid using copyrighted images and that I will surely continue using for other projects. And finally, SciSpace, which I use to search for hundreds of articles for assignments. I will continue searching for interesting articles there.
The second section that I will talk about is 3 elements of the Competu that I found most relevant. The first element that I chose is empowering learners. This component is important because it is necessary to involve students in their education to achieve better results. If we include them in their educational process through technologies that involve them even more and with which they can experiment and reach their own conclusions, we will achieve greater involvement. It's about including and creating specific plans to increase their participation. In tasks 4, 5, and 6, in which we involve students through games in a much more dynamic learning process, it allows us to involve them much more and get a greater response from them. The second element is digital resources. This element talks about the knowledge that a teacher must have about technologies and consider a wide variety of them that can be used in class with different objectives. We must be able to handle technologies and avoid the dangers. In activity number 9, in which we work with PLE, we could be aware of all the tools that we use every day and can be useful to plan our future classes. In addition, we could take inspiration from our colleagues with the apps that they presented and that we did not know about.
And finally, the third element is professional engagement. This competence is all about not only knowing how to use technologies, but also about using it for professional interactions with colleagues and other teachers. It's about being well communicated and share ideas. In task number 2 with the Competu, we were able to discuss with other members from other groups what we thought the competencies were and share our personal opinions and examples about it. We use technologies to improve our collective knowledge.
And lastly, this is the last section of the video where I will talk about my experience through this exam and the whole course. Well, to begin with, I would like to talk about my experience in this subject. I have managed to acquire many interesting methodologies and applications to use in future classes, and this subject has turned out to be a surprise for me because I didn't imagine it like this. I thought it would be just like be doing little jobs with the computer and learning to use things like Word of Excel, but it has pleasantly surprised me. I think my most difficult role during the experience as a group was being a facilitator, since I wanted to understand everything perfectly and guide my group well, which I did do well. But it stressed me a little since I was in charge of leading everything.
And my experience doing this job? I think I have dedicated a great part of my time to making this video. From an initial process of searching for ideas with Schemely, I did not completely follow what was proposed to me. To making the script for long hours, to recording the video with the edit work of the different albas, and the editing with the different videos and transitions. From my point of view, I think it is a well done and moderately creative job, so my ideal grade would be a 7.5.
So we have reached the end of the video of my resources and ICT exam. Do you want to say goodbye, dear Albas?
Yes, of course. I wouldn't miss the end of the video.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Goodbye, Mom. I'm in the internet.